All right, today I'm going to have a little bit of an excursion. I'm going to my top 10 martial art movies. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying these are the best martial art movies ever made, cinematically speaking. I'm not saying they have the best art direction or director or production values, or necessarily that the fight scenes are the best or the acting is the best. No, these are just the top 10 movies that keep calling me back. Some have really great production values, others do not. Some have some really good acting, others do not. Approaching this as a lover of these martial art films and actors that just they call me, and you'd be surprised. There's going to be some people missing that. A lot of you probably will go like, you're crazy. It should be this film, and that have at it. This is more of a subjective list of what I like, not an objective list of really what makes a great movie. So if you have a different list, I hope you go for it. And I know sometimes I get a lot of comments and sometimes I don't. But please comment with your list and put it up there. And you may just be right because this type of list in this case is kind of subjective. Anyways, without further ado, here's my top 10 list of martial art films, just for me personally. Not as far as great films, but they are my personal favorites. Here we go. Hello, for my number 10 martial art movie of all time. Please remember, some of these are guilty pleasures more than they're just great films. But it's actually a force of one. Why? Well, it's got one of my childhood idols. No, it's not Chuck Norris, even though I like Chuck Norris a lot. Bill Superfoot Wallace. And though he dies in the movie, I think he really jumps out the screen. This is his best performance ever, even though it's his first film. And the movie in some ways doesn't make sense. For example, he just has one middleweight fight, Chuck Norris does, and presumably within like a week's time he's getting ready to defend it again against Bill Wallace. It's not how the fight world works in the professional world, even back then. But it's still a fun movie for me. I remember going to see it at the Fox Theater in the ninth grade. I just had to go see it. Opening day, Chuck Norris and Bill Superfoot Wallace. I knew what the outcome would be. It was almost kind of in the trailer, actually. But I still find it, I'll throw it in. I have the DVD on it and I'll throw it in, rewatch it. It's one of those things that I love to rewatch. Do I sit there and watch it from beginning to end intently? No, I kind of, read a book or do whatever I want to do. And then all of a sudden when it gets to the scene I want to watch again. Also, I think Jennifer O'Neill is just a beautiful woman. And even at that young age, I thought she was very attractive, even with the short haircut. So number 10, it's a force of one. For number 9, it's Only the Strong. I like this movie, and it's one of those that probably once every year and a half, 2 years, I can rewatch. And when I rewatch it, I usually can rewatch it from beginning to end. Not necessarily was a big fan of Capoeira before or after, but Mark Dacascos just brings it out. You can see where he's blended Capoeira with his martial arts that his father had founded, and it's a good story. If I have to say one drawback, I really don't buy that any of the rough kids are really all that tough or rough. I mean, I graduated high school in 1983. In the neighborhood I grew up in, they were tougher than that. So that's one thing I didn't buy. None of it. I didn't buy any of that. But I did buy that the main bad guy, I think his name is Silvestre in the movie, is a fairly intimidating fellow, and so this climactic fight between Mark Dacascos' character and him works for me. I think the overall film production is pretty good for a low budget martial art movie. It did go to the theaters, not directed to video. And I was at Edwards Air Force Base at the time and went into Lancaster to watch the movie. I wanted to see it. It was fun to watch. It was actually my first Mark Dacascos film that I saw on either video or at the theater. And I was a fan. His athleticism was just unbelievable. I thought the fight scenes were good. And the overall arc of the story of good guys versus bad guys, trying to lead these youths out of the gang and drug lifestyle. I thought it was a very good, not only a good story, but it was well done by the director Sheldon Lettich. So while I didn't really buy that the high schoolers were that tough, I did really like the rest of the movie and really bought into it and enjoyed it very, very much. And I think I saw it once at the theater, and then when it came out on VHS, I ended up buying it. And watching it several times. And I have it on DVD, and I watch it probably every year and a half. I throw it in. And I find most people who are not into martial art movies, like my wife, she's not really into them, like the story and can get into the movie. So there you go. Number 9, Only the Strong with Mark Dacascos. Number 8, it's definitely Bloodsport. Bloodsport, well, based on the fictitious achievements of Frank Dukes. I do not think it really happened. I don't think it's a real kumite. In any case, it's still an enjoyable movie. The thing about it, it was made on a very low budget. If anybody's ever done the history on it, Cannon was actually kind of a B flick, low budget production company. They were going to scrap it. They thought it was so bad. And according to what I've read and heard over the years from some reputable people, that Jean-Claude himself asked if he could re-edit it. And if you think about it, that's kind of special for a young guy. I think he's in his early 20s to go in there, not knowing the movie world all that great, and re-edited it so much so that they liked it, and they ended up sending out the movie for to the theaters. The what's interesting about it, I remember when I saw it with a guy named Scotty Ramos. I was an Air Force cop and stationed at Beale Air Force Base, my first duty station. And Scotty Ramos was a buck sergeant. He was a dog handler, and he was a bodybuilder, big, strong bodybuilder. And he liked the martial art movies, and we used to talk back and forth all the time. We worked together in the same shift. So when we got a chance, we would talk. Super, super nice guy. And so I went to his house, and we got into his Camaro, and we went and saw the movie. And I enjoyed it. I didn't know of Jean-Claude Van Damme before that. I didn't see him in... what was that, Black Eagle, and then he did that movie No Retreat, No Surrender. I didn't see any of those. I had no desire to see No Retreat, No Surrender when it came to the theater, and I probably would have thought he was hokey. I've seen them since then. It's like, ugh, but he's good in this movie, and I can see why it propelled him to stardom initially. And the fight scenes are fun. I still like watching them even now. I have a friend of mine who is a Tun Soo Do guy who's also retired Air Force, and he watches this movie still to this day, like 4 or 5 times a year. And he'll send me a text, "Hey, I'm watching Bloodsport, and I need get some toxic masculinity in," or he'll say something like that. And he's got Bloodsport on. So it's a fun film, and like I said, these aren't I'm not necessarily rating my top 10 as the best films ever made, but just films that I love to go to and watch often. And Bloodsport's one of them. And again, I don't usually watch it from beginning to end. I'll have it on from beginning to end, but I will get more intently when the scene comes on that I want to watch. And it's not always the fight scenes. There's a couple other scenes in there that I like to watch that I think are humorous or fun to watch. Anyways, what is neat in there is not only do you get to see Yang Zi, who changed his name to Bolo Yun after Enter the Dragon, but young Forrest Whitaker, who's a terrific actor, and he's in the movie, and that's neat to see. And in case, number 8, Bloodsport. All right, number 7 is Marked for Death. I know a lot of Steven Seagal fans are going to probably pick something before or after. They'll probably pick something like Above the Law as first one, or maybe they'll pick Under Siege or something like that. But I liked Marked for Death. I think Steven Seagal's initial career was really good. We hadn't seen Aikido on screen, at least not in that way. And it was something else, and he made it look good. I think we like to make a caricature because we see Steven Seagal now and we go like, oh, my word, it's Jabba the Hutt doing martial arts. But we forget sometimes that from like time of Above the Law, which is what, in 88, I think, 88, 89, early 89, all the way to the mid 90s, he had a string of hits and some fun movies. Break. I can think of these first 3 here, that are Above the Law, Hard to Kill, and Marked for Death. And I enjoyed all of them. Sure, they got plot holes. All these movies got plot holes. That's why they're martial art movies. But it's a good movie. Some interesting things, though, is I love the fight scene. I love it in the department store. I just like it, and I can rewatch it over and over again. I find the chase scenes in the vehicles a little hard for me. I am a movie buff, but I'm not somebody who tries to find fault with a film, even though sometimes it's hard, whether it's martial arts or military or something to do in theology, since that's where my degrees lie. And but in the chase scene, if you look real closely, it's not in Chicago because you can see palm trees. It's obviously in LA. And that disturbs me a little bit because they're sitting in Chicago, and I know they move productions around and they shoot scenes other places. but at least get it where there's no palm trees. It's kind of hard to suspend disbelief when you got palm trees in Chicago. But in any case, I love that fight scene in the department store. It's not very long, but it's fun and brutal, and it works. He makes Aikido look like it can actually work in a fight. But I like Marked for Death, and I love the fight scenes in him. All right, number 6 is Blade. Blade falls into many genres, not just martial arts. I mean, it falls into the horror area, and because of the vampirism, and so it's got multiple genres here, and it falls in, of course, into the comic hero, superhero strip of movies, which I used to be a fan of comic book hero movies, not as much anymore. I used to be a fan of comic books. The writing has sucked for like 10 years, if not longer. It's horrible. In any case, I loved it when this movie came out. I really enjoyed Blade a lot. I was stationed in Hawaii at the time, came out to see it, and I was so pleasantly surprised. Um, I thought it was terrific, and I still do. And I have all three of them. The set, can't stand Trinity at all, but Blade and Blade 2 are terrific. And I like the martial arts in this one as well as the storyline. There's some things about the storyline I don't like in modern vampirisms, but that would be on a more philosophical channel. Has nothing to do with this movie, the way it's made. I thought it was fun, good, interesting, and I like the fight scenes. And it's not too long. Sometimes I like an epic movie that's long, but I don't like a movie that's long just to be for the sake of being long. And sometimes I don't like a movie that's like short for being short. If it's like a movie that's only 80 minutes long, put it on TV. You know, that's kind of look at it. But this movie is to me, it's the right pacing. I'm never bored when I rewatch it, and I love it when Blade does battle and uses Wesley Snipes uses his martial arts. He was an effective actor at martial arts because he was also a martial artist, and you can tell that in his love when you hear his interviews and some things he's written about it. So he loves the martial arts. He's an effective actor with the martial arts because he's also a martial artist. And I think the fight scenes work, and I think he's got a lot of charisma in the film. And overall, it's a fun movie. So number 6, Blade. Number 5 is The Karate Kid, and it's a wonderful, charming movie, and it's also a high-list production movie directed by the same person who directed Rocky. It's got some good action in it, some good actors, great fight choreography for it. It's believable. I mean, these are teenagers back in the 80s. I know in today's standard, we would probably look at that and go like, oh, the fight choreography is horrible. But for its day, to take actors and make them do this was pretty good. Ralph Macchio never looks great as a martial artist. And so I like what they did in the film is that they said, let's keep it simple. And that's the philosophy that comes out. Pat Morita's character as Mr. Miyagi is that, you do karate. Just do the basics. This is going to work. And besides the crane technique, that's all he does is basics. And I can tell you right now, when you get into a real fight, it's only primary techniques that typically work. Those 5 techniques you do extremely well that usually come out to fruition in a real fight. And so I kind of liked that twist on it. I liked the redemption not only of Danielson, Ralph Macchio's characters, but Johnny. At the end, after he loses, he's the good sport and he wants to take the trophy over there. And that kind of happens sometimes. Sometimes by losing, we become better people. It's happened in my life many times. I don't like to lose, but just losing in life, sometimes you become a better person. You reevaluate yourself and you look at yourself and you become a little bit introspective and you say, okay, now it's time to move on and get out of myself and be better, be good. And so I like that redemption type story for both of them. The Johnny one's often lost until they did the Cobra Kai series. And which I liked the first 3 seasons. After that, I got really bored of it. But in any case, The Karate Kid, it's a really good martial art story of an arc. And there are some things I quibble with from a moral philosophy point of view. But it's small, and overall, I think it's a great story, and they make it work. And it was a much needed movie for its time. I have read before, I don't know how true this is, but it was probably the movie that had the biggest impact of enrolling young people into martial art dojos. And that people have argued you see this huge spike after this movie comes out of young people being enrolled into martial arts schools, and this huge spike to where a lot of dojos or dojanes or whatever you want to call your training hall will spike in membership enrollment, and instructors will start becoming full-time instructors. When I was a kid, most martial arts schools I was familiar with, they were not full-time. I knew karate instructors who were marriage counselors. I knew one who was a dishwasher at a steakhouse. And he wished he could have been a martial arts instructor full time. I didn't take from him, but I knew him. He was a third degree in Shotokan. But that just wasn't really in the game back then. He had that job, and that's what paid the bills. And then teaching is what he loved. That was what he considered himself. And so he didn't want to get a job that he can make more money. He was actually pretty skilled, but he wanted something where he could be off at a certain time. Worked for I believe it was Perkins, and then he had that same schedule, and he worked the weekends for he wouldn't have to work nights during the week, and he taught karate. And after the Karate Kid, you do start seeing, and so I think maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just looking in the past and correlating it with what I've read. But all of a sudden, these dojos they start becoming full time, and these instructors, I've met so many who own schools who that's all they do. They don't have other jobs anymore, and in that way, it was a blessing. There's probably some drawbacks, but that'd be for another episode. Anyways, halfway through the Karate Kid, number 5. All right, number 4 is Fist of Legend. This Jet Li film is spectacular, and the fight scenes are spectacular. I think it's this or Fearless has its best fight scenes, and Fearless is a great story, but I'm really partial to Fist of Legend. For some reason, it draws me for rewatching quite often. And that's kind of how I'm judging a lot of this, is which ones I can rewatch over and over again. And Fearless is that movie. I love the fight scenes. I love the acting. I even love the love story. I just love this movie all around. It is terrific. And it's a remake, basically, of the Chinese Connection with Bruce Lee, or AKA Fist of Fury, Bruce Lee. Shows you my my time period when I came up when the Chinese Connection was called the Chinese Connection in the United States. In any case, I love these fight scenes. This is a great fight scene actually here that I got this picture up of. Absolutely terrific. I think Jet Li is just wonderful. I think it's this or Fearless is his best performance, and but I just tend to come back to this one more often. It's just couldn't have a top 10 without it. I know my top 10 would be controversial to some people, but I just love this movie. And that's basically kind of based on the movies I can rewatch over and over again for whatever reason. They just draw me. And this is one of them. I cannot stress enough that the fight scenes in this movie, I think, are some of the best ever on any film. Just absolutely terrific. All right. Number 3 is definitely for me, Enter the Dragon. Enter the Dragon is a movie I probably watch at least twice a year. Sit down there, get out the popcorn or the chips, and just enjoy. I will say that I think some of the fight scenes are terrific, and some of them are very robotic. As a kid, it didn't matter to me. It was Bruce Lee, and it just jumped out the screen. But as I watch it now, I mean, some of them are robotic. For an example, when Jim Kelly fights Peter Archer in the film, and they had their term, it's very robotic type of fighting. But when it's not robotic, it's terrific. For example, when Bruce Lee and Bob Wall fight, I mean, who would have thought fall on your back, throw up the leg, and let him land on the groin? And if you ever seen any of the outtakes of this, I don't know how Bob Wall did it. No, honestly, he's falling on the leg with his groin. I know he's wearing a cup, but gee, many Christmas trees. I hope he got paid well. It is rumored that he got his rib broken, and of course, there's a controversy because Bruce Lee's hand gets cut. During that scene, they don't use sugar glass in Hong Kong. I don't know if they do now, but they didn't back then. The final fight with Mr. Han is a little bit of a letdown. It's a little robotic, and most of the time in the mirrors is more of a psychological trick than it is an actual martial arts fight. It's not bad. It's just a little robotic, but I think that was kind of what they're shooting for the more American audience. But overall, when Bruce Lee fights the guards in the cavern there, outstanding. His fight with Bob Wall, absolutely love it. When Jim Kelly fights the guards and then Mr. Han, I think it's a great scene. And the dialogue is terrific in it for a martial arts film of its time. and it just jumps out. And John Saxon does admirably well for an actor who had studied the martial arts. I believe he was a brown belt in Shotokan, if I remember correctly. I should probably have looked that up, but I think that's what he was. And he pulls off his scenes well. And anyways, it was a great introduction. Too bad Bruce never got to see it released, and too bad he wasn't around to make any more. But number 3 is Enter the Dragon. Number 2 might be a surprise, but it is definitely the Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, or the whole bloody affair, however you want to slice it. It really was one movie, and that's why I'm putting it as one movie, not separate. And I was so thankful that Tarantino finally released it in mass release as one movie. I drove 2 hours to see it. I wanted to see it. And the only place it was showing was 2 hours away. So I drove the 2 hours. Thankfully, it was an Animal Draft House, so I got to eat while I watched it. Absolutely had a blast. My wife came. She enjoyed it, and she's not really into martial art movies. Of course, Kill Bill has many different genres going on. Everything from the spaghetti westerns, the revenge flicks, and of course, to martial arts. And there's a homage in this movie to the swordplay martial arts, which, remember my introduction, I deliberately have left out complete swordplay type movies out of this top 10 list. And this one's not completely sword movies. It's got a mixture of everything. And there's homage to Sonny Chiba. It's a terrific movie. Great soundtrack, great acting. I also, like I said, if I was doing a moral philosophy class, I think that this movie is the best, if not one of the greatest martial art movies of all time when it comes to a particular moral philosophy. And I don't necessarily want to get into that here, but if anybody ever wants to know, go ahead and ask in the comments, and maybe I'll do it on that. I taught ethics for 5 years at McMurray University, twice a semester, and so I remember when I tell this to people and some of my colleagues, they go, "What?" And then I tell them, watch the movie, and then after they see it, they go, "Oh yeah." Most people don't pick up on it, but this movie only works in its revenge if something else is true. And I'll let you figure out what that might just be. In any case, it's missed on the critics. It's missed on most people. I don't think it's missed on Tarantino. At least if it is, I'd be surprised. He's pretty sharp and understands what makes a movie tick and what makes the revenge justifiable. And this movie does it. So love it. I love the action. And what's so great about this is that, I mean, these people are actors, and you know, Uma Thurman is an actor. She looks like at times a really good martial artist. I mean, I know she's an actor and I know it's acting, but I can tell the difference. But still, they pull it off, and it's an impressive movie. It just really is, and it's my second favorite martial art movie of all time. So it might be a surprise to many, but it's here, and I watch it at least once a year. I gotta get my Kill Bill in, and I'm hoping to get the Whole Bloody Affair on one DVD someday. But I'll put in Volume 1 one day, and usually 2 or 3 days later I'll put in Volume 2. And once in a while I just go one right after the other. Probably once a year. I have a few movies, maybe like 10, that once a year I try to watch, and they just kind of speak to me, and I kind of come in and I just got to throw them in. And this is number one is The Way of the Dragon. I can't help it. I know it's not the most polished movie. It's not the best movie ever made. Brucey's humor doesn't always work for American and Western audiences, especially back then. Works for me. I love this movie. It was my introduction into Bruce Lee and martial art films. Charles Duriel, who is my big brother of America, took me to see it at the Fairchild Air Force Base Theater. And I saw it, and I was hooked even before the first fight scene. I saw it, and I knew it was going to be about martial arts. And it amazed me then. I still am amazed from the very first fight scene to the last fight scene with Chuck Norris. I love it all, and I feel like I'm transported back to being an 8, 9-year-old kid, but when I see it, I feel like I'm being transported into that world. As you get a little older and a little more sophisticated, I can tell that the Roman Colosseum is a set. When they're fighting, it's not the Roman Colosseum where they're actually fighting at. But when I watch it, within the first 30 seconds, I'm suspend disbelief, and I believe they're back at the Colosseum. And I love it. I think Chuck Norris is good as Colt, the bad guy. I think all the actors do their jobs very well. And what's funny is the one guy who who gets knocked out in Bruce Lee in the very first fight right away and comes back and hits himself with the nunchucks. Anyways, I still like saying nunchucks. I was kidding. No, it's not the name of it. In any case, he kind of looked like Wolfman Jack. And as a kid, I thought it was Wolfman Jack. But I also went to my Uncle John and says, hey, there's a guy who looks like you in this Bruce Lee movie. My Uncle John never saw it. My Uncle John looked like that guy. I mean, that's what he looked like. It was just absolutely amazing. I was like, boy, this guy could be my Uncle John. So in any case, I love it. It's what got me into the martial arts. It made me fell in love with Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee's movies, and martial art movies as a genre. And I love the fight scenes to this day. And it's a movie that I can throw on, get out the popcorn, and I'm ready to go. So, number one, favorite martial art movie of all time, I watch at least once a year, is The Way of the Dragon. So, anyways, thank you very much. Have a spectacular day. Bye-bye.